I've been in the online learning space for about a dozen years, primarily in museums and nonprofits. I was looking for an opportunity to refresh my skills, learn the latest strategies, and connect with the community. And as I was researching programs, the biggest draw for DLI for me were those monthly virtual meetings. I really wanted to be in a social learning environment to learn from peers. And to my surprise, the people in my program were from all over the world and really from different sectors. And that really enriched my own thinking. Overall, the program completely met my expectations. Content-wise, I really appreciated the integration of theory, but with an emphasis on practice. So in that way, it was rigorous, actionable, and relevant. I was applying templates and strategies and approaches to my work with clients right away. I would describe my learning experience as rigorous, actionable, and relevant. I'm going to give two answers. Is that okay? Okay. The first is at the very beginning of the course that had the piece that had the biggest impact on me was learning about the roles and responsibilities. It gave me a language and vocabulary that I didn't know really existed. And so understanding who can do what and what does that look like, even if one person is wearing all those hats, it was really helpful to have that guidance in that structure around roles and responsibilities in developing online courses. Second answer, at the very end of the course was the final project. I teach an online course to grad students here in the US, and I completely reshaped how I designed that online course based on what I learned in DLI. And so that had a huge impact on my teaching, on my curriculum, and I'm trying it out this spring, and so hopefully it has a really positive impact on my students. One of the primary ways that I've integrated the content from DLI's professional diploma program into my daily work is the use of audience personas. In museums, it's pretty often to use audience research and to inform your thinking, but the idea of creating these personas that aren't specific to one audience, but create this generalized representation of who you're designing for has been very helpful in a lot of my projects. I was working with a client who was developing online courses. They had a pretty set process for doing that, and it started with a scope statement. And together we were looking through this scope statement to see what needed to be added or changed or validated. And while they just listed out learning outcomes, description, kind of what resources are available, what's in scope, what's out of scope, they also had a section on assumptions. And this was kind of trying to tie to what do we assume about our audience that we can try to design for. We adjusted that and brought in the idea of audience personas. So based on a lot of the evaluation research that they have, how do we really humanize and personalize this design experience so that we can keep that person that we are designing for front of mind? So that was a really helpful way to design these courses that were responding not only to the assumptions that we might have had and trying to check those assumptions about those audiences, but how do we create thinking about this whole person, their motivations and their barriers and their interests and their background. One of the biggest changes that I've seen in my career in the last year is the emergence and explosion of AI. It was part of the professional diploma program, which I did really appreciate. And I'm sure by now DLI has expanded that content and dove in deeper into it. But AI has definitely been a large part of the conversation happening everywhere. I took this course to strengthen my own understanding and improve my own understanding of online learning. In that way, I am strengthening the expertise and strategies and approaches that I bring to my clients. And if that was the goal and that's the result, then it worked. One of the primary reasons I chose DLI was because of that instructor feedback in peer learning. And so I loved learning from people all over the world. I loved learning from people who were in completely different sectors than myself. And I really appreciated the availability and feedback from the instructors. They also shone a light on new ways of thinking that have now helped me in my work. I follow DLI now on LinkedIn, and I'm on their newsletter, and therefore I like to stay connected with all the offerings that DLI is continually updating and providing. So in that way, I really appreciated knowing that, hey, I had this great experience last year. I know that I can rely on them for future learning opportunities. As someone who likes to talk and process things that I'm learning, having a community online, the monthly virtual meetings, and the instructors to talk to was really helpful as I moved through the course. The other way that the course was designed that allowed that mix of asynchronous and synchronous learning, for me, I'm a working mom, I have a lot of different things on my plate, and allowing me to access the material when and how I needed it in preparation for the virtual meetings was extremely helpful as well. I am often going back to designing the flow of the course with the different shapes and blocks and way of laying out the course so that you're creating a consistent and reliable learning experience design. If I were to recommend this course to a colleague, which I have, I would say it is reliable, it is rigorous, it's relevant, it's actionable, and it's practical. Maybe that encompasses all of those, but those qualities really go a long way in helping to upskill professionals everywhere. If someone is on the fence about taking this course, I would say that there are so many different options offered through DLI. This is the professional diploma course. It's a heavier course load. It's a bit more involved. There's the monthly meetings plus coursework. On the other hand, they have smaller credentials. They have courses that are just asynchronous. So I would say that DLI offers multiple pathways for learning depending on where you are and what you need. As a museum consultant, this course sharpened my skills that strengthen the offerings that I bring to clients.